The history of the Iron Throne is largely a chronicle of conquerors, madmen, and ineffective heirs. Yet the most capable leader produced by the Targaryen dynasty is a man who never lived to wear the crown. Prince Baelor Targaryen defied the visual standards of his house. Instead of the silver hair and purple eyes of old Valyria, he was a massive warrior clad in black armor, with hair as dark as a Dornish knight. This appearance came from his mother, Myria Martell. Beyond his dark features, Baelor possessed a unique physical trait, heterochromia, with one eye of blue and one of brown. In a court dominated by xenophobic lords who prized Valyrian purity, Baelor's features were a political liability. To these traditionalists, he looked like a foreign interloper rather than a true dragon, creating a layer of domestic resentment that followed him even as he served as Hand of the King. The skepticism surrounding Baelor's appearance met a harsh reality check on the Redgrass Field during the First Blackfire Rebellion. Faced with a massive rebel uprising, Baelor demonstrated a sophisticated grasp of battlefield geometry, leading a heavy cavalry charge into the enemy's vulnerable flank. He drove the rebel forces directly into the shield wall of his brother, Maekar. The synergy between the two was so effective that Maekar was dubbed the Anvil, while Baelor was remembered as the Hammer. This victory provided Baelor with a level of military prestige that few in the realm could challenge. As the heir to the throne, he combined this reputation with a sense of personal honor that made him a stabilizing force for a dynasty that had only recently survived a civil war. Years later, at the tourney of Ashford Meadow, the superficial peace of the realm was tested. While the High Lords gathered for sport, the rigid class barriers of Westeros were about to trigger a crisis. Baelor crossed paths with Dunk, a massive hedge knight from the slums of Flea Bottom. Despite Dunk's lack of status or proof of knighthood, Baelor chose to vouch for the man's character, allowing a peasant-born knight to compete alongside royalty. The situation collapsed when Baelor's nephew, Prince Aerion Brightflame, assaulted a Dornish puppeteer. Aerion, a man prone to violent delusions of grandeur, began breaking the girl's fingers over a perceived slight. True to his knightly vows, Dunk intervened by striking the prince and tackling him into the mud to stop the assault. In the legal code of the Seven Kingdoms, striking a member of the royal family is a capital crime. Dunk was immediately arrested, facing a mandatory sentence of mutilation or death. As Hand of the King, Baelor had to manage this incident within a fragile political landscape. Without dragons to enforce absolute rule, the Targaryen dynasty had to rely on public perception and the rule of law. The arrest of the Hedge Knight created two opposing paths, neither of which favored the crown. By killing Dunk for defending an innocent woman, the crown would appear tyrannical. This would give the exiled Blackfire supporters the perfect propaganda to claim the Targaryens were no longer fit to rule. However, to simply pardon Dunk would be a signal of weakness. It would suggest that the sanctity of royal blood was no absolute, inviting other commoners or lords to challenge the family's authority. Baelor visited Dunk in his cell and suggested a third option, a trial by combat. This moved the final judgment away from the king's court and placed it in the hands of the gods. The move relied on a specific psychological observation. Baelor knew Aerion was a bully who preferred attacking the defenseless. He expected that faced with a duel against a 7-foot-tall knight, Aerion would simply withdraw his accusation to avoid a life-or-death struggle. Baelor's plan assumed that his nephew would act with a shred of self-preservation. He miscalculated the depth of Aerion's instability. Aerion did not back down. Instead, he invoked a nearly forgotten piece of Andal law to escalate the stakes. He demanded a trial of 7. This meant 7 accusers would face 7 defenders in a chaotic, mounted melee to the death. The legal weight of this demand was devastating. If Dunk could not find 6 other men to stand with him, he would be found guilty by default. Baelor's attempt to resolve the issue with a duel had instead forced a massive, lethal confrontation between his own family and anyone brave enough to defend the Hedge Knight. As the sun set, Dunk faced the impossible task of finding 6 high-born lords willing to risk their lives and titles against the royal family for the sake of a man from Flea Bottom. Aerion's side was filled instantly. He recruited 3 members of the Kingsguard, his own brother, and his father, Prince Maekar. Throughout the night, Dunk pleaded his case. But when dawn arrived and the heralds began to blow their horns, Dunk was still one man short. He stood alone on the field, facing the deadliest knights in the realm. The question was no longer about a trial, but about survival. Who would be willing to draw a sword against the Targaryen bloodline to save a man with nothing to offer?